Hi guys, Viking Reefing here. As you probably guessed by the title and the thumbnail, I will be switching over from dosing a two-part, or in my case a four-part solution, to a calcium reactor. The reason for the switch is relatively simple. The consumption of my system has gone through the roof, and I am currently dosing a bit over 20 liters of Baling monthly, which is both a hassle logistically, since I have to constantly be ordering new additives, and price-wise, as you can probably see here. So you can see that it kind of adds up over the course of a year, for example. I've been very happy with the RKS Baling from Reef. It's by far the best Baling I ever used, but it's simply not economically feasible anymore. My system, I believe I have around 1,500 to 1,600 liters of total water volume between my two tanks and the sump. So it's no surprise that eventually I have to go down this route. It's kind of funny that I have my Nios Opus 300 in the background here. It's probably not this tank that really has the enormous consumption that I'm seeing. It's probably my big tank. But regardless, as I will be stocking this tank further, and the big tank where the corals will be growing in, I'll be adding new SPS colonies over time. My consumption will increase. So there's really no other option than to look at alternatives. I have previous experience with calcium reactors, and it wasn't good. I never really found it to be a pleasant experience, so to speak. Historically, you always had to fiddle around with pH probes, which lose calibration. You had to count bubbles, you had to mess around with effluent flow rates. So I gave it a go in the past, years back, but I just didn't have a good time with it. And that's why I've been going the dosing route for a fairly long time now. But when I started researching calcium reactors to see what's on the market currently, I stumbled across a new breed of calcium reactors, which you could define as automatic calcium reactors. They work by fully saturating the calcium reactor with carbon dioxide, and as soon as that level drops, they will inject more. So you don't have to fiddle around with bubble rate or the pH of the reactor. The only thing that you do is you adjust the flow rate. There are a couple of options on the market. I went with the Pacific Sun CalcFeeder for a couple of different reasons. Firstly, they've been making this variety for a fairly long time, so they have the experience to build a reactor that actually works. Secondly, they make all manners of sizes, and they had a size that fit me perfectly. And thirdly, I just think it looks the coolest. So give me a moment and I'll get it out and show you guys. You can see here I have a couple of different things in front of me. So this is the actual calcium reactor. This is a degassing chamber. Since this runs at a very low CO2 set point, I also chose one of these things to slightly bump up the pH of the effluent. So I believe this runs at around 6.3 to 6.5 or so. And what makes this an automatic calcium reactor is this guy, the CalcFeeder dosing pump. This is a dosing pump that's specifically developed for this calcium reactor. The main feature here is that it has an optical eye. So it injects CO2, and when the levels of the calcium reactor drops due to the CO2 being used, it'll automatically trigger the solenoid valve that's included to let in more CO2. So the level rises up to the optical eye, then it shuts the solenoid again, which makes it very hassle-free. What I also like is that it comes with a Aquabee pump. I've had good experiences with Aquabee in the past, and they've made pumps for forever, basically. I think Aquabee was actually in business when I got into reefing like 23 years ago. You get a bunch of tubing, some holders for your dosing lines, and this CalcFeeder pump. So let's open this guy up and see what's in the box. Everything's very well packaged. I'll put a video on the screen now where I unpack the calcium reactor. So this is a dosing pump. That's what you get here. It is a power supply. You get the actual solenoid valve that goes into the dosing pump. Let's get the dosing pump out. This is freaking heavy. I have no idea what they made this out of, like cast iron or something. It looks like powder-coated steel. This works with standard 1/4-inch RO tubing, and it doses up to 720 milliliters a minute. It has a touchscreen, so you can set your effluent rate on this guy, and it looks very well built. And of course, it's rated for continuous duty. So let's get this guy installed, shall we? This is going to be very interesting. What I'll be doing is that I will be slowly weaning off my tank from the dosing of Baling to the calcium reactor. So I'll be setting the pump at a very low effluent rate initially, and when I can see that my alkalinity starts to go up, I'll decrease my dosing of 2 parts. And my idea is that this process will take like a week or something, perhaps 2 weeks. No point in rushing it, really. I don't want to cause some unnecessary instability of the tank. So let's get to it. Welcome back. It's now been about 2 weeks since I shot that last part of the video, and this thing has been running since then. What impressed me the most was that the installation was actually super simple. When you look at this thing, we got a bunch of valves, you got a dosing pumps, univalves, degassing chamber, and what have you. So it looks kind of complicated, but if you just take a step back and just look over the entire setup, it's actually super simple. I think it took me no more than 1.5 hours to get this thing completely done, and basically 30% of that I spent on rinsing the media because that was stupidly dirty. Transitioning over from dosing to the calcium reactor was actually also relatively painless, I must say. I bumped up my alkalinity testing to, I believe it was 5 times a day. And since both my dosing pumps and the dosing pump for the CalcFeeder is controllable online, it was very easy for me just to watch for the next test, see the results, and if my alkalinity went down, I increased the dosage from the calcium reactor, and if my alkalinity went up, I simply decreased the dosing of Baling. So I'd say I reached stability and could completely turn off my dosing after about a week or so. If I would only be able to check like once in the mornings and once in the evenings, I'd probably let the process take at least another week. But yeah, very painless if you have an automatic alkalinity tester, I must say. One thing that I actually was slightly worried about was where my pH would end up. Since the effluent is kind of acidic, I had some worries about my pH just bombing on me, but that hasn't really happened. I'll put up a graph here so you can see my pH. But generally, it bottoms out during the nights at around 8.2, and during the day it goes up a little bit above 8.4, so I'd say that's still pretty good. I believe the fact that the effluent passes through my refugium and into my skimmer, which has a recirculating CO2 scrubber, helps a lot to scrub off that extra carbon dioxide that's present in the water, as well as the degassing chamber probably helps a heck of a lot as well. So let's take a closer look at the actual unit and how it runs. So let's start off with the brains of the operation, so the CalcFeeder Pro dosing pump. As you can see here, I'm actually just running this at 0.7%, and that's basically 400 milliliters an hour. And my system stays very stable at this low amount, so this thing is a beast. It can really take care of a very large tank. So I definitely have room to grow. Perhaps I should get a bigger tank, just so I can really utilize the full extent of the capabilities of this thing. As you can see here, the optical sensor, it's reading that the water level is low enough. So when this starts, when water level starts rising, you'll see this thing start flashing in red, and once like that. And once it turns solidly red for a while, it will open the solenoid valve and let more carbon dioxide into the chamber of the calcium reactor. So your water level will be always around here. So as soon as it rises a bit more up to here, the dosing pump will automatically detect that and open the solenoid valve and let more CO2 into the chamber, which will push the water level down. It's a very nice thing that you don't need any fancy regulators or count bubbles or anything with this kind of a setup. That's a major quality of life change when it comes to dealing with a calcium reactor, just like I hope it would. There are some different features here as well. You can see this pump, it has a ball valve on it. So if I were to open this valve up, the flow through the calcium reactor would increase. And general use cases of that is you have very fine media. You need more force basically just to push water through the unit. I don't need to have it open more than this, since you'll basically just burn up more carbon dioxide if you do, and no point in wasting carbon dioxide. So the water is constantly circulating like this, and it goes from the back here into the degassing chamber, the bottom of the degassing chamber. It goes through this. I have some finer media in here, and as you can see here, it goes up here. That's my filter roller, and I figure I have a fair amount of turbidity here since a lot of water will be exiting, so I just put it right here. As you can see here, the dosing pump has some fairly nice features as well. You can turn on a alarm if the pressure of your CO2 gets too low. It has a feature called degassing, since the carbon dioxide in these bottles will probably never be 100% pure carbon dioxide. So after a while, inert gases will build up in here, which will decrease the potency basically. So when you put it in degassing mode, it will vent all the gas that you have in here, and then it'll refill it with new carbon dioxide. You can either do this manually, or it has an option to do it twice a week or every day or something like that. It also has a very nice feature that I used when I filled this thing, refill mode. So what basically will happen is that the pump will work in reverse, so it'll fill this thing up fairly rapidly. And the reason for that is, which I discovered, was you need to remove this union valve to be able to remove the lid. Me being an idiot, what I did, was that I removed the lid and obviously unscrewed this union valve, and it just dumped tons of water in here. Well, what happens is, if the water level rises in here, it's also going to be rising in this tube. So I built myself a small little fountain right here. So yeah, that got kind of wet in a hurry. But the refill mode is very convenient, so if you basically take out a washed media or something like that, you can just put it in refill mode and just refill this thing fully up with water, and then it will start injecting carbon dioxide, so you'll have full saturation of carbon dioxide within it. So what are my thoughts now, once I fully switch to a calcium reactor from using 2-part? I'm never going back. Like I said in the first part of the video, I've had experiences with calcium reactors in the past, which hasn't really been all that good or pleasant. But since using the CalcFeeder from Pacific Sun, I'm a convert. If you're thinking about going the calcium reactor route, I would highly suggest that you go with one of the automatic models. I believe there are 3 that's available on the market. What I really do like about the Pacific Sun model is that it has an optical eye which reads the water level. I believe the other ones has a float switch, which we all know can get stuck in place, and then if you just keep injecting CO2, it's probably not the end of the world if that happens. You probably want a nuclear tank, but I just don't like the idea of that happening. This unit is rated up to 2,500 liters. And I guess the degassing chamber will probably add some more potency to that. So I don't foresee me changing out this unit anytime soon. Even I was almost going to be saying that if I upgrade, but when I upgrade eventually, it's going to definitely be sufficient for that tank as well. I can't really see me having a tank, at least not at the moment, that this thing wouldn't be able to handle. I mean, my entire system is about 1,600 liters, and it handles it like a breeze. These are my initial impressions, and of course I will be coming back to this thing once I've had like 6 months of use or something and give you a follow-up review. If you happen to have any questions about the CalcFeeder or calcium reactors in general, or any other notes or comments, please post them down below. I try to get to every comment. If you made it this far, I would really appreciate it if you would like this video. It helps me out heaps in the algorithm. And I think that's it. Happy reefing and have a good one. Bye.